Hello, boys and girls, welcome back. Today we're going to continue our conversation on transformations, and more specifically, we're going to be talking about rotations around the origin. Alright, so our objective for today is I will be able to rotate geometric shapes around the origin. Alright, so just as a review, these are the four quadrants of the of a grid or coordinate grid. Alright, and so we start in quadrant 1, which is when the x and y are both positive. Quadrant 2 is when we have a plus minus. Quadrant 3 is when they're both negative, and quadrant 4 is when we have a plus minus. So, and I think I said quadrant 2 backwards, minus plus, and quadrant 4 is plus minus. So that's really important to come in handy for us to realize, because I think this visual is going to help a lot of us understand how we talk about rotations. Alright, so a rotation on the origin. A rotation is a turn of an object around the origin or a fixed point. You can rotate counterclockwise or clockwise, and the most common degrees of rotation are 90, 180, and 270 degrees. Right? And just so we remember, clockwise would be in the direction that the hands of a clock turn, and then counterclockwise would be the opposite. Right? So take a look at this smiley face. Right, so when we see the smiley face before the rotation, it's just a normal emoji. It's just a normal smiley face. If I wanted to rotate it 90 degrees clockwise, it would turn or rotate so the smiley face is now sideways. And it's a 90-degree rotation because if we connect the points or the bottom of the smiley faces, it makes a 90-degree angle. Alright, so let's take a look and let's kind of see what we mean when we are given ordered pairs and what it means when we are going to rotate them. Alright, so our original point, we're just going to say that that shape or triangle A is our original point for the time being, because this particular one I'm not having you draw it yet, but the next one you will. Alright, so this first one we are going to simply do our original points. So our original point I said was triangle A, and let's label each vertex. Okay, so the first one that we're going to do is we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And then so we have negative 6, 8. So vertex A, we have negative 6, positive 8. And let me just make sure we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and we're going to negative 6, 8. Alright, the second point that we're going to plot is B. Right, and if this was 6, we'll go 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have negative 10. And then positive 2. So we're just plotting these points, and then this is C. Okay, so this one would be negative 2, positive 2. Alright, so we just plotted those points. Very simple. We see what we did there. Alright, so now if we are doing a clockwise rotation, that means it's going to rotate this way. Alright, and now there's two different ways that you can think about this rotation. Right? One is more abstract, and some of us are more abstract thinkers, and some of us are more concrete thinkers, and honestly this is the way that I think, but I will show you both. So if I want to rotate image A 90 degrees clockwise, so it is going to be rotated to the first quadrant. Alright, and so I know that the first quadrant is going to be positive. Both the x and y are positive because it's in the first quadrant. Right, so keep that in mind as we decide what our next figure is. Okay, so as we decide what our next ordered pair is for angle A, we also need to keep in mind that if we are only translating it to a 90-degree angle, so A right here is A right here. So it's turning or rotating 90 degrees. Okay, so what's going to happen is our x ordered pair and y ordered pair are going to switch. So, as we can see, we can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 8, 6. Now, what did we just do here? Well, we flipped the x and the y, right? So now it's yx, and the x is opposite of what the current x or the original x is. And this is the part that's a little bit more abstract. For some of you abstract thinkers, you like that better than just thinking about what quadrant it's in. Alright, so let's do the same thing with b. B is right here. We're moving it or turning it or rotating it, so B is going to turn out to be up here. So we are flipping the two numbers, or x and y, and they're both going to be positive because it's in quadrant 1. Another way that you can think about it is you flip the x and the y, but the x is opposite than the original point. And let's look at point C is going to be 2, 2. Okay, so they're flipped. In this case, it's going to be the same, and they're both positive because it's in quadrant 1. Or maybe you like to think about it as the x is the opposite of the original x. Okay, so this column right here is just for those of you who like maybe equations better than you like to think about the drawings. Okay, let's take a look. Now, if we were to rotate now shape A 180 degrees, it's going to be shape C. Now, when you rotate A to C, the order of your ordered pair is going to stay the same. The difference is it's going to be both opposite. So the original pair is negative 6, 8. The opposite of negative 6 is positive 6. The opposite of positive 6 or positive 8 is negative 8. And we can see that A is going to be positive 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, negative 8. So this is your A down here. So we can follow it all the way around. This is our A. Our point's B, and once again we know that this is going to be a positive and negative because it's in the fourth quadrant. Okay, so it's going to be a negative, we're going to have negative 2. I'm sorry, we have, for B we're going to have negative, okay, sorry, we're going to have positive 10 because it's opposite, and then negative 2. So let's take a look. Positive 10, negative 2. That would be B. And then last but not least, they stay the same, but the signs are opposite, so positive 2, negative 2. And that is what we got here for C. Okay, so once again, some of you are going to like these formulas up here better. Some of you are going to just like to think about, what quadrant is it in? Alright, so the last one that you could do is 270 degrees, so you can rotate it all the way around. 270 degrees. Okay, if you're doing that, your A is now going to be over here. So our A is right here. Okay, and once again, we're going to realize that they're both negative. So it's going to be negative 8, negative 6. And we can see that this is indeed negative 8, negative 6. Once again, they're both negative, but you gotta switch the order. So negative 2, negative 10. And last but not least, we have negative 2, negative 2. So those are some ways that we can think about a clockwise rotation. Okay? Alright, so we're going to do counterclockwise now. And counterclockwise, it's the exact same process, but going the opposite direction. So our original value, and you can double check me on this one, is going to be 2, 1. Just to save some time, I'm going to write this in for you. 5, 6 would be B, and 5, 1. Alright, so counterclockwise practice would be going the opposite way as the first way of clockwise. Alright, so if we are going to be doing counterclockwise, it's just the main difference is these up here are a little bit different. Okay, so we just really got to think, and that's why I like thinking about quadrants better, because this is where it could get a little bit different if we're trying to memorize. Alright, so 90 degrees counterclockwise is going to be in the second quadrant, so we have negative, positive. Alright, so if we start off with 2, 1, it's going to end up being negative 1, positive 2. So you're going to go over negative 1 and up 2, 1, 2. Alright, and that's going to be A prime. Same thing over here. We're going to have negative 6, 5. So negative 6 up 5. That would be B. And then C is going to end up being negative 1, 5. So negative 1 and up 5. So there we go. There's our rotated figure, C prime. Okay, so we're going to rotate it all the way around. Alright, now let's take a look at this one. 180, it's exactly the same as it was before. So it's just the opposite of both ones. So negative 2, negative 1, negative 5, negative 6, and negative 5, negative 1. Okay, so we're going to start off and we're going to graph that one, just like we did before. So negative 2, 1, 2, negative 1. That's A double prime. Alright, we have negative 5, negative 6, B double prime, and negative 5, negative 1. And connect the dots, C double prime. There we go for that one. And then 270 degrees counterclockwise, both of them are going to be negative, and it's going to be opposite, in the opposite order as the original. Alright, so it's going to be, I'm sorry, no, they're both not going to be negative. That was the last one, I apologize. So it's going to be positive and negative. So it's going to be 1, negative 2, 6, negative 5, and 5, negative, or 1, negative 5. So we can graph it. We have 1, negative 2. We have 6, negative 5. And 1, negative 5. 1, negative 5. There we go. And there we go. So you can see that it's rotating all the way around. Alright, so this is what we're going to be doing, and I know that this is going to be a little bit awkward at first, and we're just going to continue to practice, but for now, I would like you to try it on your own. Rotate the polygon clockwise to each quadrant. So it has the original figure at quadrant 3, starting at the bottom there. I want you to write down the original order pairs, then rotate it 90 degrees, write down the pairs and draw it, 180 and 270. Alright, so just please be really diligent about this. Ask questions, okay? Any questions that you have, please ask, and I'll be happy to answer them as we get started, alright? We'll continue with this as we continue in class as well. So thank you so much for paying attention, taking really good notes, and I will see you guys later. Alright, bye-bye.